a consensus was arrived at that a bipartisan group of legislators, a majority from both sides, could say that's a practical solution that works for Arkansas. And if only Washington could learn from that effort. And that's what the people of Arkansas, the people of America are yearning for, where the system works, where you come up with a practical solution. Now, I dare say that my friends here at the podium, if they drafted a perfect legislation, would not look like Arkansas Works. On both sides. We all come up with a different solution. And we designed Washington, it would be different. We have come up with a practical solution for this time in history for the people that we serve. And I think they all ought to be applauded for that. And so now, let's talk about the future. I'm going to sign this legislation, and we look at the future. There's a fundamental principle of government that we need to deal with, and that is that a minority should not derail the expressed will of the majority. And that has not happened in Arkansas's history. There are tools of minority. They're important tools that can be operated with. But when it comes to a policy that is set by a majority of both parties, and then it comes to the funding of that policy, a minority should not derail the policy. For my Democratic friends up here, I would not want our Democratic members of the legislature to derail a Department of Corrections appropriation because you disagree with the policy. I would not want the Republicans to derail the funding of an agency of government because they disagree with the policy that's been adopted by the majority of legislatures. And so that's a fundamental debate that we will have coming into the future. My objective in the coming days is to win support for the funding of the Department of Human Services that will include the Arkansas Works legislation that has been adopted. It's my responsibility as governor to avoid what some has described as an inevitable crash. I want, as governor, to avoid that crash. I want to keep the wheels of government on the road and progressing and working for the people of this state. And I'm confident that this can be done. My colleagues who oppose Arkansas Works, they did it out of conviction, they did it out of pure motives, and they voted their conscience, and I applaud them for it. And I look forward to working with them to hopefully gain their confidence, their support for the appropriation bill and the funding of this. That is my goal, that's my objective. I'll be happy to sign this legislation with the colleagues around us, and I did want to recognize the great work of Speaker Dillon, who's been a friend throughout all this, a wise counselor, and Senator Dismang as well, President Pro Tem. They sent me a letter before this last session, and they gave me the counsel to let's focus on Arkansas Works. It was wise counsel. We followed that, and I appreciate y'all's friendships and leadership. So with that, let's sign the bill.